If you ask industry what is holding back growth, perhaps land acquisition features top of the list for most of them. Hello and welcome to We Mean Business. I'm Shweta Rajpal-Kohli. On the show today, we ask if the government can move forward and resolve the land acquisition worries for the industry without actually hurting the interests of farmers. Let me introduce our guests on the show. I spoke earlier with Dr. Sumitra Mahajan, Chairman of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Rural Development. With us also on the show, Mander, social worker and writer, and also the former member of the National Advisory Council. Also with us in the Delhi studio, Mr. Ajay Dua, former Secretary in the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Kalikesh Narain Singh Deo, member of Lok Sabha BJD, also joins us, and with me here in the studio also Oinathim Ojar, infrastructure correspondent, and Mr. S.Ramachandran, Director IVRCL Infrastructure, joins us from Hyderabad. Many thanks all of you for being with us. But first, before we start the discussion, let's take a look at our top story today. Finance Minister P. Chidambaram today outlined the roadmap for reviving the economy in his first interaction with the media after taking over as the Finance Minister. And he has fired the first salvo by saying that he has ordered a review of those tax provisions which have a retrospective effect. So are we going to see the retrospective changes that were introduced in the budget being reversed or abandoned? Clearly, that's something that has created much hype and uncertainty among investors. First, let's take a look at what he had to say about those retrospective tax changes and about improving the investment climate in India.
The aim will be to remove the perceived difficulties in doing business in India, including fears about undue regulatory burden or regulatory overreach. Indian companies, especially public sector enterprises, which have large cash balances, will be encouraged to restart investment. Proposals pending with the Foreign Investment Promotion Board will be processed and decisions taken expeditiously. Clarity in tax laws, a stable tax regime, a non-adversarial tax administration, a fair mechanism for dispute resolution, and an independent judiciary will provide great assurance to investors. We will take corrective measures wherever necessary. We have recently appointed two committees, one to examine GAR legal provisions and guidelines, and the other to review taxation of the IT sector and development centers. I have also directed a review of tax provisions that have a retrospective effect in order to find fair and reasonable solutions to pending as well as likely disputes between the tax departments and assessees concerned.
All right, so does this come as music to the ears of investors? And India Inc. that has been extremely worried about the instability in India's taxation policy. With me here in the studio, Mr. Mukesh Bhutani, Chairman of BMR Advisors and clearly an expert on that issue, and also our in-house expert, Sapna Das. Thank you both for being with us. Mr. Bhutani, clearly this is something that was much needed. A clarification coming and an assurance coming from the Finance Minister that he will tackle all those issues with regard to policy instability in taxation matters.
Well, I think the statement assumes significance because it's not just about reviewing retrospective amendments. It's about the statements that he's making with respect to stability, transparency, a non-provocative approach by the tax administration coupled with independent judiciary. So yes, the independent judiciary was a given, but I think the challenge that we've had with respect to a policy in the last few years, whether you call it a retrospective amendment or the excesses by the tax administration as to how laws were interpreted, I think that is an area where he's making a very powerful statement. I think coming from Mr. Chidambaram again assumes significance because in the past, he has authored several retrospective amendments.
Right,
so let's
himself.
not take away that.
Right.
But I think being a lawyer and a subject matter expert, I think he had the finesse to be able to identify which are the ones that will stand the test in the court of law.
Right.
So, you know, one is making a retrospective amendment to overrule a decision which does not state the true intent of the law.
Right.
And second is blindly making retrospective amendments.
Right.
So I think this is where he's going to draw a fine balance. Bear in mind, he's not going to be any lenient on taxpayers. He will be tough on the administration. But I think he will bring about a greater level of balance, which in my view was missing, lately.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.